Difficult to assess this episode, The Savages, the serial The Savages. It's, it's all missing. We're judging as an audio drama. It's some decent, if not stale and archetypal science fiction tropes in the first episode, and it's likable enough, though you think, oh, this is going to get stale, isn't it? This is going to get pretty boring over 4 episodes. You're kind of dreading that a little. But it could be worse. It just seems like it might be another Galaxy 4 or something like that. You know what I mean? I'm going to read some background information out about the Savages. We'll do that in this particular upload, and who knows what we'll do over the next 3. Anyway, The Savages was the first serial to be wholly commissioned and produced by producer Ines Lloyd and script editor Jerry Davis. It followed several serials which bore the duo's names, but had actually been substantially pre-produced by their predecessors John Wiles and Donald Tosh. It heralded the new production era in a couple of small but significant ways. It was the first story to use an overall on-screen title as opposed to being comprised of episodes of individual titles, so that's true. It was also the first story to have a serial production code of more than a single character. More significantly, it was the new production team's first opportunity to impact the casting of the regulars, including Purvis' departure. It was also Jackie Lane's last full serial and the final televised off-Earth story for the first Doctor. William Hartnell showed a pre-regenerative wariness and was eased out of the series in 12 episodes. It therefore had a certain commonality with Warrior's Gate and Resurrection of the Daleks, as the point at which an incarnation of the Doctor began to lose long-term companions before an impending regeneration. Interesting. The end of this story also marked the first time since An Unearthly Child that the first Doctor journeyed with just a single female companion. Narratively, therefore, the end of The Savages was an important point for writers in other media. Several books featured the Doctor/Dodo team in the wake of The Savages, such as the novel The Man in the Velvet Mask. Currently, of course, all 4 episodes are missing from the BBC archives. And now for some more story notes. This serial had a working title of The White Savages. Okay. No episodes of this 4-part story exist in the BBC archive, we know that. This is the first Doctor Who story to have an overall story title rather than each episode having individual titles. Frederick Jaeger, Jano, was coached by William Hartnell for his imitation of the Doctor. A regular viewer of the show, Ian Stuart Black, thought that a Doctor Who credit would impress his children. For a time, it was thought that this serial might replace The Gunfighters, which neither Ines Lloyd nor Jerry Davis liked. This is the first incomplete serial since The Crusade to have a full set of telesnaps and begins a long run of stories with telesnaps that ultimately ends with The Mind Robber or The Wheel in Space if one only includes incomplete serials. This is because Ines Lloyd was a lot more keen on employing John Cura's services than his predecessor, John Wiles, was, and Peter Bryant was much the same as Lloyd after he took over as producer. The Advanced Race was originally supposed to be played by actors in blackface as a parable about apartheid-era South Africa. This got dropped except for the city's leader, Jano. This is the first Doctor Who story to feature no on-screen deaths of any additional cast members, although The Edge of Destruction was the first story to feature no deaths. It also had no additional cast members apart from the Doctor and his companions. Christopher Barry, the director, and this script was written by one Ian Stuart Black, he was impressed with the script, thinking that the series had gotten stale. William Hartnell was furious at Peter Purvis' departure, as the two had become good friends. While Purvis didn't leave by his own accord, his contract was simply not renewed. And that's The Savages Part 1. If you're looking forward to Part 2, well, I'll have to think of something interesting to talk about there. Maybe we'll talk about Ines Lloyd and his contribution to Doctor Who. Yes, he was an interesting producer, yeah, why not? Much like Verity Lambert, Ines Lloyd had a lot of faith in the show, and the ideas that Ines Lloyd chose to bring to the show, which something a producer hadn't done to the degree that Lloyd had, I think. Maybe Wiles tried, but it was vetoed, such as, Wiles wanted to replace Hartnell in the Celestial Toymaker. But Lloyd's choices for the series wound up coinciding with what Troughton figured would be strong for the series. Patrick Troughton, the actor who would portray the second Doctor. In any case, I'll see you next time if you're so inclined in AOD's Classic Doctor Who Retrospective. We're looking at The Savages Part 2, my reconstruction of, anyway.